I like your rationalist approach. I like the fact that you want to be level-headed and you want to deal with just a halacha. But I was talking to my friend here, and we always for brain, to discuss the things that we hear, what we go over, what you say, and he said, in your own words, put it in your own. I don't want to speak for you, but say how you.
I don't want to get too bigoted, but it's
okay.
like we were talking about how on one of these streams you said, it's. You kind of like what was the word you used? We just throw out most of spiritualism, Melchim and whatever I don't know what the secular word is, the Goyish word is, seraphim, cherubim,
right?
All the other supernatural stuff, and you're just left with.
He's saying that you strip away all the spirituality and you're left with a rational Torah. And you feel like you're
just one supernatural entity away from atheism, which is a shame.
He's saying that rational your version of rational Judaism is almost like atheism with a kippah. Right. That's what it seems like.
Right.
The reason I do that, it's not because I'm against that form of spirituality. I mean, clearly the Torah is still spiritual and God is a spirit. It's because that's not literally in the Torah. Those are concepts made up by men. Ofanim, Seraphim is understood by statements in Yehezkel, but it's not authoritative. It didn't come from the Torah. I'm making the distinction that if it's from the Torah, we believe it because we believe that we received this from Har Sinai. But books that sort of just appeared that were endorsed and written by the rabbis and judges themselves, I don't think that they should be classified as objective reading material, but subjective. That means it could be true, it might not be true. I'm just not viewing it as authoritative. When people hear that, it seems like I'm burning it in their eyes, because why would anyone entertain any of those ideas if they felt they were optional to believe? People only believe in metaphysical ideas if they're objective, if they're absolute. That's me raining on people's parade, saying that, you know what, that's not actually what the Torah says. I'm telling you that that's not what the Torah says. I'm not saying that I don't like it. I wish reincarnation is true. I mean, I want to live forever. I want to come back, right? But I'm not going to say the Torah teaches it. So that's the difference between me and someone else. Only because a rabbi may teach it like this. A Rabbi Mizrahi will teach, the Torah teaches this, angels, demons, reincarnation. That pleases the whole crowd. But there's a rude awakening out there that people are going to confront when they're dealing with an atheistical academic. He's going to break down these words in front of everyone, show you that's not what it really means. What are you going to say? Like, my rabbi says so? I'm really trying to equip you guys to know what it really means. And then you could say, even though that may not be the literal meaning, I still believe in it. That's fine. But I don't think people are equipped enough to respond to inquisitive college kids who happen to know the Bible from an academic perspective, the anchor Bible crowd. I understand the Bible like that, but I believe in God, and I believe in Har Sinai, and I believe in all these things, while all these guys write that off.
I appreciate the answer. You're being honest, and you're trying to be as honest as you can.
Once you know the truth, there's no putting that cat back in the bag. The difference between me and these other rabbis is that they don't know the truth. When they have these discussions, I always ask them, I'm like, it doesn't really mean this. And they're like, of course it means this. Of course it means this. I was having a discussion with like Yaron Reuven on the phone. He never let me record these calls, but I guess you guys could verify this with him. And then he told me the end of days is in the Torah. I'm like, where is it in the Torah? He's like, Genesis chapter 49. All right, so let's look it up. So it says, Acharit hayamim. It says, and in later days. So I told him, that doesn't mean in the end days. He's like, but our rabbis tell us that in that portion it means that. But in the Hebrew, it doesn't mean that. That's fine. Our rabbis may be right, but we have to be able to package this religion and hand it over to people who think for a living. Professors, I mean, the people that if you convert them, they're going to convert hundreds, and that's not going to fly with them. So if something's not literally there, it's a lie to say it is. Now, I have faith in God. I believe in 6 days of creation, 1 day of rest. I believe in Yetziat Mitzrayim. I believe in Torah from Sinai. I believe in that because it's in the Torah. And I have to justify that because it's in the book I believe in. But at the same time, I'm not going to try to justify every medrash in the Talmud or every statement that appears in the prophets, because I'm opening myself up to get shot down. And I'm out to make Judaism look good. I mean, this is why I proselytize. I actively proselytize. That means I love Judaism so much that I want to make more Jews. But it's funny. The people who claim to love Judaism more than I do don't want to proselytize. I guess they don't really love Judaism.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's a weird situation that we're dealing with. The people who call me a heretic don't want other people to come to Judaism who aren't already born Jewish. But I want everyone to come to Judaism. Committed social suicide here being an avid proponent of proselytizing for the last 15 years, who loves Torah more here? I mean, I want everyone to come to Torah. This is what the Rambam writes in Sefer Mitzvot in the third mitzvah. He says, the third mitzvah is to love God. And he says, how does one love God? By doing what Avram Avinu did in Haran. It says that he loved God so much that he wanted everyone else to love God as well. That's what
I really appreciate that. And it is a bracha that you're here with us every Monday and every Thursday for praying with us and discuss Judaism and stuff. It really is. Thank you so much. I want to. They might hate you, but we love you here, and I gotta say I love you. And Hope is out there. She got a couple of good questions in the side chat. Hope, do you want to say it on a voice, or do you want me to read it for you? Can you unmute? Are you able to get a working mic going?
Or about the Shulchan Aruch, or what was it?
Yeah, go ahead. Shoot. Go ahead. You had a couple questions. Go ahead.
Yes, it was the Rambam. He came out with his Mishnah Torah before Kara came out with the Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
So, and the Rambam just it covers more stuff.
Right.
So why would Kara's?
Why is the Shulchan Aruch more widespread than Mishnah Torah?
No, they side with that. No, it's I know it's like 95%, 35% Rambam. But if it does disagree, to go with Kara.
Uh-huh. So I believe that the reason they needed a Shulchan Aruch is because the Shulchan Aruch was written after the advent of the Zohar. It brought in Kabbalistic thought that didn't exist in the Rambam. And like you said, Shulchan Aruch doesn't cover everything. It just covers what you do today. Shulchan Aruch is not really the whole work. The whole work is Beit Yosef. Shulchan Aruch is just an abridged version of Beit Yosef. Actually, what Shulchan Aruch was meant to be studied, I remember if he said once a month. He expected everyone to go through all of Shulchan Aruch because he considered it like the watered-down version of the Beit Yosef. But that was it. It was because he wanted to bring down Kabbalistic thought that didn't exist in the Rambam. That's all I could think of. The way Shulchan Aruch was put together, he took the best out of three. So there's the Rif, the Rosh, and the Rambam. Where they agreed, the majority he went by, but he says the Rambam writes that he could count on both hands how many times he disagreed with the Rif. But also the Rif didn't codify all of halakha either. He just did Talmud Bavli. It appears in the older Gemaras in the back where you would have the Rif, which is pretty much the same text that you just would have studied, but with all the midrashim or what's called Agadah excluded. Almost like the Jefferson Bible, but Jewish version. So that's my opinion, that they wanted to introduce more Kabbalistic customs into halakha, but they didn't stop there. There's other codifications. Now we have the Mishnah Berurah, which is pretty much an extra commentary. We have the Shulchan Aruch Harav, which is the Chabad Shulchan Aruch. It just happens to be called Shulchan Aruch Harav, but it's an expansion of Shulchan Aruch by the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, first Rebbe of Chabad. There's other works like Rabbi Gansfried's Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, and then the Ramaz Mapa, which he basically introduced all the minhagim of Ashkenaz into Shulchan Aruch. So there's just so much stuff in there. The rule is, if it doesn't appear in Mishneh Torah, it's typically not a halacha. And there's some things in Mishneh Torah that are also not halachot. So that's why it's good to study Mishneh Torah with another work by Rabbi Yosef Karo called Kesef Mishnah, because Mishnah Torah didn't give all the sources for how he developed halachot. The Kesef Mishnah steps in and tries to give those sources. There's also the Lechem Mishnah that does the same thing. I think the Magid Mishnah also does the same thing. But that being said, Shulchan Aruch, as it exists today, hasn't even been fully translated into English. And most people don't go by Shulchan Aruch. This whole thing that we don't go by Mishnah Torah, by Shulchan Aruch is nonsense. They'll go by Mishnah Berurah, they'll go by many other things. Most people don't go only by Shulchan Aruch. If they went only by the Rambam, they would actually go by more Shulchan Aruch than they claim to go by nowadays.